All right, what's up, everybody? We are back here again for week number 9 of Pete's Power Rankings. Yes, I'm going through, I'm watching 99% of all of these games. I'm taking notes, keeping tabs, ranking all 32 teams from 1 through 32, breaking it down for you. The trade deadline just passed. It's a finalized deal. We got new players in new spots. There was some big names moved at the deadline and maybe pushing some teams over the top. But it feels like we're getting settled in. Not a whole lot of movement at the bottom of the league. Not a whole lot of movement at the top of the league, it feels like. Feels like we're starting to round things in as we head into November. Who's going to do what? Who's going to make a push for that playoff, for that Super Bowl run? And who is looking forward to the draft in April already? But let's get into it. Our bottom tier teams, 32 through 23. Okay, no movement down here really for all of these bad teams. Panthers, congratulations. You got your first win. Arizona, again, I said this last week. They're going to be competitive. They're never going to beat anybody. Josh Dobbs out of town now. They're going with Clayton Tune. Kyler Murray should be back next week. They think maybe things change for them. The Bears, I don't know what the Bears are doing. They trade for Montez Sweat. They give up a second-round pick. It's going to be like the 35th pick in the draft for a team that's going absolutely nowhere. Vegas is awful. They needed to trade Crosby and Adams. Those two poor guys are wasting away careers there. Green Bay, Jordan Love not it. He's awful. The Giants, no Tyrod Taylor. We got Tony DeVito at quarterback. Maybe Daniel Jones will be back this week. They're abysmal. The Commanders, full fire sale. They traded away Sweat. They traded away Chase Young. Ron Rivera's days are numbered in Washington. They're looking to start fresh. New England, another just lackluster showing. Mac Jones, clearly not the quarterback in New England, even though it felt like they had some momentum. They just got pushed around and bullied by Miami. Colts were playing good, looking good. They lost a tough game to Cleveland. Then they come out and lose another tough game to New Orleans. That defense is just really, really bad, man. But they don't have their quarterback. Anthony Richardson is the guy they're investing in. Shane Steichen's doing a nice job, but it's just kind of like Colts are a team that can beat you, but they're probably not going to. Same thing with New Orleans. They got the offense back on track. It looks like we've been desperate for it all year. Problem is, it feels like super one-dimensional. Everything's a swing pass to Kamara, and then maybe you hit something big over the top. Defense, not great game. This was probably 2 weeks in a row that they haven't been outstanding out there, which they had been earlier in the season. I just don't feel any heat from the Saints, but that division's terrible, so maybe they can turn things around. But let's get to our middle tier teams now, teams 22 through 16. All right, look at the Broncos here, 22, back-to-back wins, and they finally beat Patrick Mahomes for the first time ever. Say what you want about Russell Wilson, he really hasn't been the problem why they've been losing games this year. Historically, one of the worst defenses in NFL history early in the year. The defense has gotten better. The offense slowed down a little bit, but they've been, not bad the last 2 weeks. Courtland Sutton's a guy. Jerry Jeudy, welcome back. He showed back up. And they've looked decent. Like, this looks like a competent team. They didn't sell off at the trade deadline. There were rumors they were going to blow this up. It looks like they're going to roll with it. Maybe Russell Wilson is going to be their guy. They're not going to tank for a quarterback. Now, they're not going anywhere this season, but there are some positive signs for the Broncos. Now, the question was, do you really want to be bad this year? This is the only year you're going to have a top draft pick because their draft pick is gone after this season again. What they gave up to get Russell Wilson, I'm assuming still, I don't know. They haven't had a first-round draft pick in forever, Denver feels like. But positive strokes for them. Atlanta, awful game. Desmond Ridder injured. He's terrible. We might start seeing Taylor Heineke. I don't know. Ridder is just so bad. The worst starting quarterback in the NFL. But they're at home against a beaten-up Minnesota team now who could be reeling, so maybe they turn it around. Like I said, the division is not good. Not a good division, so they're right in the thick of it. Houston, easy letdown spot. It kind of felt like the Texans were going to let down coming off the bye. Carolina also on a bye. Just felt like they had too much positive momentum. They were going to let down. The Titans, Will Levis, his first career start. My man threw 4 touchdown passes, 3 of them to DeAndre Hopkins. He was a monster. Maybe they found something in him. Maybe they were right. Tannehill still injured. Keep rolling with Levis. I'm sure it's not going to last, but it was nice to see some life from this Tennessee offense. Tampa Bay fought hard against Buffalo. Just, they're limited. Baker Mayfield's just kind of that guy at quarterback. It's like, whatever. Sometimes he makes plays. A lot of times he doesn't. It's just kind of whatever. The Rams, I'm selling all my Rams stock. Now, Matt Stafford's banged up. They were pretty pathetic against the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys had a bye and the Cowboys love to roll, but it's just like, Man, this team is not very talented. Sean McVay really showing his stripes with his coaching job he's done so far this year, because they kind of fooled us. Like, they look like a team that was going to be competitive, possibly a playoff team. That's just not them. And the Steelers. Matt Canada and this offense is awful. I know Kenny Pickett got hurt. Mitch Trubisky is horrible. The defense is really good in the front seven. It's just such a letdown. They need to start fresh. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. George Pickens is a beast at wide receiver. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do from here, but they're going to stay feisty. They're going to stay competitive. It's just like they're the Iowa Hawkeyes of the NFL. They have zero offense. They have a really good defense, and maybe they're going to win some games in the fourth quarter, but I don't know, man. I'd be pretty upset if I was a Steelers fan. But let's get into it, what everybody came here for, your top 15 teams. Okay, number 15. I hate this team. I hate this coach. I don't know what to do with them. I'm going to put the Chargers here at 15. Dismantled the Bears at home on Sunday night, which is what you like to see. For once in their lives, they didn't play a struggle game. They didn't play a one-score game, and they were dominant. And we saw flashes of what this team can be. Herbert with the offense. They got Eckler the ball. Big explosive plays. It was just like a complete performance. The defense kind of shut down a bad Bears team with Tyler Badgett at quarterback. But for once, this is kind of what we expected to see from the Chargers week in and week out, dominating performances. I don't want to trust them. I hate this coach. I hate everything about this team because they frustrate me so much. They should be so much better than they actually are. But I'm going to put the Chargers here at 15. They've got everything to play for still. They're sitting at 3-4. They win this week. They're at 4-4. They're floating around. The problem is the AFC is pretty stacked with teams, but they're trending in the right direction. It's like the Chargers are trending in the right direction. Big, I think it's the Sunday night game. It might be the Monday night game. Chargers and the Jets in prime time. It's like that's a top defense. They've made great quarterbacks look awful this week. If the Chargers can move the ball and look good against the Jets defense, I'll start partially believing in them again, but I can never do it with the Chargers. They just drive me crazy so much. Please get a new head coach, just anything at all. But speaking of the New York Jets, okay, at number 14, I got the Jets. I do not know how the Jets won this football game on Sunday. 25 combined punts. They were down. It was just, oh my, it was awful. They're losing by a field goal, 10-7. They get the ball back with 20 seconds left, and somehow Zach Wilson gets them into field goal range. They get to overtime. They win the game. Look, some people are saying Zach Wilson's playing better at quarterback. I don't know. I was kind of in that camp, but he looked like the worst, like Desmond Ridder than Zach Wilson. He was abysmal on Sunday. Now, the weather was bad. Things aren't great, but the Jets coming off a bye, I expected them to look better, but they've now won 3 in a row. They're 4-3, and like this defense is so good that they're going to win football games, and we just need Zach Wilson to be slightly okay and not losing games for the Jets. It looked like he was going to lose this game for them. He managed to win it. He leads the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks. You can't trust this team ever at any point. I would never bet on this team. I don't know what to do with them. Their quarterback is so bad. Like, Zach Wilson is not good. He's not winning games for this team. You have a great wide receiver. You have an awesome running back. Your offensive line is a mess, but they're okay. They're functioning. It's a disaster up front. They're functioning. This team's defense is just Super Bowl caliber. They week in, week out make life hell for everybody. They're going to have to force turnovers. They're going to have to set their offense up in really easy spots. If the Jets can just not turn the ball over and be successful in the running game, they're going to win some games. Can they get to 9 or 10 wins and find themselves in the playoffs? Possibly. There's still the looming man of Aaron Rodgers. Maybe Aaron Rodgers pulls off the unbelievable, the miracle, and he shows back up at the end of December and gets this team into the postseason when they need 2 wins or a win to get in. It's just really weird to see. I don't think anybody fears this Jets team on offense whatsoever. The defense, obviously, but if you're this bad at offense, you're not going to beat a great team. You're not going to beat great teams. You're certainly not going to beat 3 great teams to get to a Super Bowl. So I got the Jets here at 14, but they got a winning streak. Maybe they just believe and will themselves to victory. Okay, number 13, pour one out for my man Kirk Cousins. Just a devastating blow to a Vikings team that look like they've gotten it figured out. They started 0-3, they're back to 4-4, 4 out of 5. Their only loss to the Chiefs, and there was some questionable penalty at the end of that game, or no penalty, I should say. They've looked good 3 in a row for the Vikings, including a win over the Niners, and the schedule is really soft coming up. They're at Atlanta this week, then they have New Orleans at home, the Chicago, and then Denver at Denver. It's just kind of a really soft schedule, but no Kirk Cousins here. You just don't know what to expect from this team. Kirk Cousins has been a top 5 quarterback so far this season, lighting it up, was second in the league in passing yards. Might have been first after Sunday, but it's a huge blow. They don't have Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison welcoming himself to the NFL. He is a true number 1 wide receiver. So now you got 2 number 1s at receiver in Minnesota. The running game looked better. Cam Akers finally scored a rushing touchdown for this team. They still play Alexander Mattison too much. I just don't think he's very good. The offensive line has been really, really good the last few weeks. The protection has been awesome. Now they're going to roll with rookie quarterback Jaren Hall out of BYU. Don't really know what you have in him. And then they traded for Josh Dobbs today. Maybe Dobbs steps in. It just feels like this team, what are they going to do? Can they possibly win 5 games? Maybe. That'll get them into the playoffs. If they don't, they're probably in hell where they don't have a good draft pick. They're not going to take a quarterback. They re-sign Kirk Cousins, who doesn't have an Achilles at 35 years old. It's really tough. But the defense, they're going to have to lean on this defense. Brian Flores really should be looked at as coach of the year, assistant coach of the year, whatever that award is. His defensive unit has been excellent. This was the worst passing unit in the NFL. They're kind of middle tier in everything. They give up yards. They really don't give up a lot of touchdowns, and they're starting to force turnovers. They got 3 interceptions in 3 straight games. Plus of that, they've done more, but 3 straight games with an interception, and that's what they've needed. They needed to force the turnovers. They get after the quarterback. I think the Vikings, surprisingly, are going to be in a lot of football games because their defense is good enough. The question is, can the offense do enough and keep them winning? I'm still going to keep them here at 13 just because we don't know. Jaren Hall could be the next Tom Brady. Probably not. We're going to have to wait and see what the Vikings are going to do. But for right now, got him at 13. Okay, number 12, I got the Cleveland Browns at 12 here. Kind of a bad loss for the Browns. It looked like they were getting dominated for most of this game, it felt like. And then they came back, took the lead, and then they blew it. Defense blew it. Let Seattle score to win that game. Just this team really, really needs Deshaun Watson. The problem is, I don't think Deshaun Watson wants to play football anymore. He got his $250 million fully guaranteed contract. The doctors have cleared him weeks ago. He says his shoulder's not okay. He got hurt, came back last week, got hit early, said it wasn't all right. He didn't look right. I think there's a lot of mental going on, not a lot of physical going on there with Watson, because it's just weird in Cleveland. It's not right. Other than that, team is okay. The defense has been awesome, but not great the last 2 weeks. They've kind of come back to earth. People have film on them, but they're put in a tough spot when the offense doesn't do anything. The defense gets worn out. They're on the field a whole bunch. There just isn't a lot of complimentary football being played with this team, but they're okay here. They're sitting in a decent spot. I know the division is tough, but they can make up for a lot of the things if Watson comes back. Now, they did just trade away Donovan Peoples-Jones, so that's one less wide receiver. It's not like they're getting their balls to their wide receiver, really. They've been trying to run the ball a lot with Kareem Hunt and Ford, but they have both been banged up. Hunt hasn't been as good as he's needed to be. He was better. It just feels weird in Cleveland. It's another team that is a little bit better than the Jets on offense when they got that top-tier defense. So if Watson comes back, this team could probably figure it out. I just don't know. It feels super weird in Cleveland. I wouldn't be happy if I'm a Browns fan. It feels like they've let a lot of games go that they shouldn't have. This team maybe should have a 1 loss, 2 losses at the most, and they're just kind of floundering around. It's like, whatever. I don't know what to do with the Browns. They're just kind of a weird team in a weird spot. So I'm going to put them here at 12. Maybe Watson saves this team. I wouldn't bet on Watson being that kind of guy. Okay, 11 again. I got the Bills here. Look, Buffalo did what they needed to do against Tampa Bay. They won on a short week Thursday at home. But again, they let that game come down to a Hail Mary where if the refs throw a PI, which they probably should have, We're going to get one play at the 1 yard line. Clearly, the Bills know how to not get flagged on the last play of the game, or at least get away with it so they don't get penalized. Maybe Sean McDermott likes to play this way. He's a defensive guy. He wants to play these ugly games. It just, the Bills should be putting these team away. They're not. I don't get it. They don't run the ball enough, even though when they do run the ball, James Cook looks good. Why can't they just commit to the run game? Oh, we're going to put everything on Josh Allen, make him force the ball to Stephon Diggs. Now, we did see Dalton Kincaid catch his first touchdown. Maybe we can get the tight end in the mix more. Gabe Davis was solid. He's had a couple of good games this season. Problem has also been their defense. They're banged up. They're not good. They did trade for Rasul Douglas from Green Bay. That's a much, much, much needed pickup in the secondary to help this team out. It just feels like this Bills team is not what they used to be. They're banged up. The offense isn't consistent. They're sitting here. They're 5-3 right now. It's just, what are we going to do with the Bills? What are we going to do with the Bills? They kind of feel like whatever. Yeah, Josh Allen can be great. He can also be terrible. I wouldn't be afraid of the Bills in any serious manner in a big-time game this season. It feels like they're going to have to hit the reset button with an expensive quarterback, redraft a lot of these guys on defense, bulk up the offense. Maybe Stephon Diggs is on his way out after this year. It just feels like the Bills are not nearly as good as they need to be. Another team letting me down, it feels like. Okay, number 10, I got the Seahawks at 10. Look, Seattle. You dominated early in this Cleveland game. The defense blew it. They let Cleveland get the lead, but then they got the win back. They came down, scored a touchdown, got the win. That was nice. They really needed that. Like I said, the defense has been playing better. The run game and the secondary have been awesome. They were one of the worst run defenses in football last year. They've been really good against the run this year. Problem was the pass coverage early in the season. It's been a lot better. It's on the offense lately. The offense hasn't been consistent. Geno struggles mightily, it feels like, in the middle of games. Just kind of eats sacks, doesn't really take care of the football, just not making good plays, stares down guys a little bit too much. So I think Geno is going to be the limiting factor for this team. I like their wide receiver core a lot, obviously. They have an awesome backfield. The offensive line is fine. It just feels like another team that doesn't have a quarterback, but Geno will give you much more flashes, much more consistency than some of these other guys have. So they're in first place in the division for now. They're in a really good spot. They're going to make the playoffs, I'm assuming. It just feels like Geno's ultimately holding this team back. If we can get a lot more of the Geno Smith we saw for a large portion of the season last year, this would be a very, very dangerous football team. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, they can stop the run, and they can cover people. They're only getting better. Maybe Pete goes out there and signs a big name free agent quarterback. That's just kind of not his style, though, or at least a consistent one to give him some more stability. All in all, a very well-rounded team that just feels like they're a quarterback away. Okay, number 9, I'm bumping the Bengals all the way up. Coming off the bye, Joe Burrow finally looked healthy. It was a clinic again against the 49ers. Now, the Niners are reeling, losing 3 in a row, but let's talk about how good the Bengals look. Joe Burrow looked comfortable. He looked healthy. He had no problem moving around, throwing the football, and they were awesome. Jamar Chase was great. T. Higgins is still a little banged up, but he's getting better there with that rib. We saw Joe Mixon appearance. This was a complete offensive performance. This is exactly what you wanted to see. We weren't quite sure about the Bengals. They went into the bye. They beat the Seahawks. It was an ugly offensive performance and was led by the defense. Now we saw both facets of the game really looking strong. Now the defense gave up some points to the Niners. Most of that was late. The Bengals felt like they were in control for the entirety of this game. I don't care what the score looked like. It never felt like the Bengals were going to lose that game to the Niners. Just really an excellent performance all around. And it seems to be this is what the Bengals do. They struggle early. They're really bad. They get things figured out. And then they cruise through November and December and right into January where they're the last team you want to play, home or on the road. Just a really well-rounded squad, it looks like. I loved what I saw. I'm looking to move the Bengals up higher. They could really, really go on a run here, and we could be shoving the Bengals up into the top tier teams because let's be honest, Joe Burrow, one of the most experienced quarterbacks we have now in the NFL when it comes to postseason success, it's him and Mahomes, and then Jalen Hurts, maybe. Like, this has been a really good, really well run football team, it feels like, under Joe Burrow. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do moving forward. I'm very, very high on the Bengals right now. Okay, I'm going to keep the Jags here at 8. It has nothing to do with what the Jags, it just feels like everybody in front of them did what they needed to do. Look, it was a little ugly early for the Jags. Terrible weather in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's front seven's elite. We know that. But Travis Etienne managed to get it done. This guy is a top tier back right now, maybe top 3, maybe top 2, and he's not 2. I don't know. He's been awesome lately. And it feels like every week you're just not quite sure about the Jags. You think the offense is good. You think the defense is good. But hey, they've won 4 in a row now, 4 or 5 in a row. They've won 5 games outside the city of Jacksonville. So they're a good road team, which is what you want. The division is awful. Houston lost. That was their only real threat. Maybe Tennessee's coming on. I don't think so. So they're going to cruise to a division title. They're going to get a home playoff game. The question is, can they keep fighting to get that 1 seed, get that bye, get that home field advantage throughout? Even though it feels like they don't need it, it's just nice to have those things when you're in the postseason. You don't want to have to go to Arrowhead again, even though they played pretty good at Arrowhead. I'd be a big, big buyer in the Jags right now if I could just see some more consistency. It just doesn't look pretty. I know I'm being picky. I just want it to look prettier. I know it's really stupid. This is a really good football team. I was very high on the Jags. We're getting the offense involved. I want to see a little bit more Ridley. Want to see more Ridley. But Christian Kirk has been nice for them. We had a big game from Ingram. And the defense, they stop people. They've been a really, really good unit. They force a lot of turnovers. They get after quarterbacks. All in all, great job by Doug Peterson turning this team around after the disaster of Urban Meyer. This is a legit football team, and I only think they're going to get better, which is scary. They finished the season great last year. If they can get that turnaround again, this is going to be a top 4 team heading into the postseason. Really, really good look for the Jags so far, and they just keep winning football games, so I can't complain too much. Okay, number 7, I'm going to keep the Cowboys at 7. Look, we know what the Cowboys are. We know what the Cowboys do. Cowboys get up early on somebody. They're going to beat the shit out of them. They're going to blow them up. We know it. That's how the Cowboys are. They're the biggest front runners in the NFL. The best team in the NFL with a 10-point lead. Maybe the worst team in the NFL down 10 points. It's just a team that front runs so much. But this is what you want to see off of a bye at home. Got the Rams coming into town. You house them, really push them around, and it starts early. You get an early lead, you get a pick 6, and you pour it on. They had a block punt. This defensive unit is just ridiculous how they score. They've got to be the best scoring defense in the last 2 seasons, maybe the last 3 seasons. They just absolutely put teams in bad spots. They scoop and score. They go pick 6. They block kicks. They do everything right. Now, if they get into a gritty, grindy game, they can get beat. The pass rush has been shut down a couple of times there, but they're not going to lose to inferior opponents. It's those quality teams that are going to push the Cowboys here. I really need to see more out of that running game. It's looking like Tony Pollard was not a great investment, even though you only franchise tagged him. He's not an every down back. He's your home run hitter, and he really hasn't done a good job taking over the majority of the carries for this team. I really wanted to see the Cowboys upgrade at running back. Derrick Henry was out there, but that was kind of weird with the money, and the Titans weren't really interested in moving him. So they need a physical back to run between the tackles, and that's what they're missing. Dak was good again. CeeDee Lamb's good. I'm not worried about the Cowboys. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to win a lot of games. It's what happens when they face good teams. They're going to take away CeeDee Lamb. They're going to make Dak uncomfortable, and they're going to shut down this pass rush for this defense. So Cowboys at 7, I need to see more before I can upgrade them fully and take them seriously as a Super Bowl contender. Number 6, the Lions here staying at 6, kind of a similar vein to the Cowboys, just like This is a good team. The division isn't great that they're playing in. Their biggest competition just lost their starting quarterback in Minnesota. So Detroit should cruise to a division title for the first time in 30 years. They're going to get a home playoff game. Look, this is not a perfect football team. It feels like this is a year early, and next year is going to be the year where this team is going to really make some noise in the postseason. But you have to get that experience, and they're going to get that experience this year. Jared Goff is fine at quarterback, kind of in that Dak Prescott, maybe a little bit better some weeks, maybe a little bit worse some weeks, kind of game manager type guy. He'll make some big throws, but I'll tell you what, when Goff turns the ball over, he makes sure it counts. The man is throwing pick sixes like it's nobody's business. Defense is a solid unit. They've been shutting people down. The pass rush really needed an upgrade today at the trade deadline. They didn't do it. The Lions, I was very surprised. They don't want to give up the draft capital. I think they know they're not quite a Super Bowl team yet, and they want to save those picks for this upcoming draft and really make that push next year. So I don't hate the move. I just know Lions fans really wanted to see it through. If Kirk Cousins doesn't go down, I think they make a trade today to ensure that they can win this division. But with him gone, nobody feels any heat from any of those teams. They're going to be okay. It's just this isn't the Lions' year. Amon-Ra St. Brown is awesome. Jameson Williams, where you at? Where you at, my guy? Jahmyr Gibbs, welcome. We've been waiting for it. Fantasy owners especially had a huge game. So that was really nice to see from them. All in all, I like this Lions team, but it's another team that we know playoff game, maybe a playoff win, not really a Super Bowl contender. Okay, Dolphins at 5 here. This is the Dolphins, another similar team as these last three. They're going to beat teams. Can they win a Super Bowl? I don't think so. Maybe. Their defense really isn't that good. It's going to have to get a lot better. Now, Jalen Ramsey came back. He said he was going to get a pick six. He didn't get a pick six. Head coach was very upset with him, but that was a big ad. They've needed that help in the secondary. If they can get Howard and Ramsey playing healthy, this is a much upgrade to that defensive unit. They're going to be able to lock down the passing game. They can get after the quarterback. They're still tops in the leagues at quarterback hurries and pressures. Vic Fangio likes to hit quarterbacks. That's what he's going to do. The problem is the offense. We know they're going to dominate bad teams. They're going to blow bad teams out. It's what are they going to do in these physical games? We've seen it twice now at Buffalo, at Philadelphia. The offense has been stymied. They've been pushed around. They're not physical enough. Now, maybe Devon Achane coming back off of injury would be a big upgrade to this unit. Maybe that gives them a little bit more toughness, a little bit more consistency at that running back position. But we're going to keep riding with the Dolphins. It's a prolific offense. It's not a very good defense. Tua Tagovailoa has been playing really good this year. Tyreek Hill is a freak, probably tops in the league, at least this year. He's uncoverable, and it feels like every time he catches the ball, it could go for something big. He's so fast. He's so athletic. It's kind of crazy. Not to mention his running mate Waddle is as good as the number 2 receiver as you're going to find out there. It just feels like the Dolphins have yet to show us that they can beat those physical teams. They can play in bad weather. They can play outdoors. It's too perfect of an offense. Now, if the Dolphins win that division, they're going to be sitting in Miami for a playoff game. Weather's going to be all right. Maybe it won't bother them too much, and maybe they can go get 1 or 2 wins, and then they find themselves in a Super Bowl in Vegas, indoors. That's a good setup for them right there, but they're going to have to get through the AFC playoff, which is a gauntlet. So Dolphins here at number 5. I think they could get there. I just don't feel like they're a Super Bowl team either. Okay, number 4, I got the San Francisco 49ers. 3 straight drop-ins for the 49ers here. Not good. Not good at all. Offense hasn't been great. I don't think they should have played Brock Purdy this week, coming back from the concussion. Short week, missed practice sometime, got back in there. I think they should have rolled with Darnold and see what he gets you there, because Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft for a reason. We didn't buy into the Brock Purdy hype like he's this top 5 quarterback or anything. He's probably in that 15 to 10 range when he's at his best. Everything hasn't been perfect for him offensively. This team really needs Debo back to help make defensive mismatches happen. Christian McCaffrey, death taxes, and a CMC touchdown, 17 straight NFL record. The biggest concern for me is this defense. This defense has been really bad the last few weeks. They're playing a lot of man in first and second down and getting cooked. They're not getting any pass rush. Now they go on and make a big trade, go and get Chase Young for a 3rd round pick to pair him with his Old Ohio State running mate, Nick Bosa. It's going to be a really fun thing to watch this defensive line work because they got to get back to rushing the passer. I think Richard Sherman talked about it earlier this week. They've run a lot of fronts and a lot of stunts up front, a lot of games, and that's just not what they do. Just let them pin their ears back. Let them go get after the quarterback. They had to buy this. They got to buy this week, so they're gonna rip everything up, reset, refocus, get back into playing because this looked like an unbeatable football team through the first few weeks of the season. I think this is a much needed buy. They need a reset. They need to figure some things out. They need to get healthier. Obviously, I'll be interested to see what this team looks like coming out of the bye. But for right now, Niners at 4, and I want to see them play. I had all the Niners stock. Now I'd be concerned after the last few weeks. Maybe they'll make adjustments. Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Fix this team up and get them ready for another postseason run. Okay, number 3, I got the Baltimore Ravens. I was another sleepy performance by the Ravens in Arizona. I had them on upset alert. It's just kind of like they're looking forward to this week. They got Seattle and Cleveland coming up these 2 weeks. They're going to look past Arizona, but they did their job. It wasn't a great performance all around after looking all world against the Lions 2 weeks ago. Kind of a sleepy performance. Now, it could be some hangover lag coming back from London, going out west. It's a lot of movement on the body clock. We'll see what the Ravens do here in the next few weeks, but I'm a big believer in this team finally. This is a number 1 defense since they traded for Roquan Smith last season. It's been 17 games, and the numbers are ridiculous. Kind of a slept-on defense. I feel like we don't talk about the Ravens defense with those other elite defenses because they're kind of just tough. They don't really wow you with how they get after the quarterback. They don't have explosive, flashy plays. They just don't give anything up. They make it a grind to go out there and move the football against them. And Lamar in the offense, it has some moments. Mark Andrews looking like one of those guys we've seen him look like in years past. The wide receiver core, a lot more stable, a lot more reliable, it feels like, than in years past. We just need them to put it all together offensively, be able to push the ball downfield, then run the football, make teams have to work, make them guess at what you're doing. If we can get that and not this one-dimensional thing that we've seen at times where they can't throw the football, receivers can't catch, they have to run, they have to rely on Lamar running, it just isn't good enough anymore. So the Ravens at their best are definitely one of these teams that can win a Super Bowl. The question is, can we get more consistency out of them? I want to see more consistency out of them. We've had 2 weeks in a row now where the Ravens have done a good job. I want to see a great job now against Seattle and against Cleveland. These next 2 games for them, if they look like all world beaters, watch out. Baltimore is here to make a push for the other top teams in the AFC. Okay, number 2, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. I got to drop them. They lost at Denver. Look, you can't beat a team every time for like 8 straight years. Just not going to happen. Mahomes was 6. Mahomes had the flu game, but they were just awful on offense. The turnovers are a little concerning. Mahomes has been pretty reckless with the football. Now, he's a guy who throw a pick on 4th down, not really care. He'll just try and force it in there, try and move the sticks, stuff like that. So I don't really worry about that. What I am concerned with is the rest of this team's wide receiver core. I mean, good God, this receiving core is terrible, awful, abysmal. None of these guys are good. Maybe Rice is working his way into being an okay receiver, but he's not there yet. You only have Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce apparently has forgotten how to play football if Taylor Swift isn't in the stands. They're not running the ball consistently enough, even though I like Isaiah Pacheco. That man runs so hard. I want to see more from the run game. The defense is still pretty good in Kansas City, much better than we've had in years past, which is nice. They were very banged up this week. They were also sick. It's kind of a weird game. It happens. But again, the Chiefs, another team that just like aren't consistent enough. And it feels like nobody's really been consistent enough this year. This hasn't been a dominating year, it feels like, for our top teams. Everybody's flawed. Everybody's got more meat on the bone, it feels like, when it comes to playing. Am I worried about the Chiefs? Absolutely not. Are the Chiefs going to win this division? Absolutely. Are they going to have some home playoff games? Yeah, of course. Is Mahomes still the best quarterback in the league, especially when he's got Andy Reid head coaching? You bet your ass he is. So what the Chiefs do or what the Chiefs are going to do, it's up to them. They're going to be in the postseason. They're going to have home games. It's can they make big plays in big spots? Can any of these receivers step up? I really wish they would have went and got a receiver at the deadline. Devontae Adams is not getting traded to them in division, unfortunately. I think this is a year where the Chiefs maybe aren't as good as they've been in years past, and it's going to hurt them come the postseason where they don't have a go-to guy outside of Kelsey that they can go rely on to make a big play. Maybe McCole Hardman slides back into that role after getting traded for from the Jets. He kind of gets back into that Kansas City way. I don't know. I have a lot of questions with the Chiefs, but ultimately I'm going to bet on them because I'd rather go down betting on the Chiefs than betting against the Chiefs. Okay, number one, probably my softest number one, my least convincing number one of the season. I got the Eagles here. One, Eagles. They win. They just can't play. They just can't play the Commanders good. Another team, they struggle with the Commanders. They're getting dominated. They come back. They play tight. That they win the football game. Eagles win a lot of football games. Now they're countering. Everybody's starting to get on to this tush push. They're trying everything to stop it. The Eagles just put a new wrinkle in. They broke out the fake tush push, went for a touchdown. It's going to be a real problem. Nick Sirianni has clearly prepared for this moment. And look, A.J. Brown has been unstoppable. He's a guaranteed $125 now every game. We got Devontae Smith more involved in the offense, and that's what I wanted to see. Hurts is clearly not super comfortable. He's probably got an injury there that they're not really talking about. Something's bothering him. He hasn't been as good of a thrower of the ball this year. Now, it could be the new offensive coordinator. The game plan isn't great. It feels like they just rely on A.J. Brown too much. Let's just feed him the rock when we have to. I want to see more creativity. I want to see more explosive plays. That's where they're really down this year. The defense isn't as good as last year. Secondary is really not that good at all in Philadelphia, it feels like. Now, they trade for Kevin Byard from Tennessee. He really upgrades that secondary. He's two-time All-Pro guy at safety. That's going to help them out a big time. But their defensive line is still awesome. They don't sack the quarterback as much as they did last year. It felt like, I know it would drop a little bit, but it's kind of ridiculous how much lower they are this year than last year. But Jalen Carter is a monster. They got the baby Rhino in the draft. Good job, those teams in the top 10, letting him fall to Philadelphia. He's been a huge impact on the defensive line. He might be the fourth best player on this Eagles team already. Their D-line is awesome. You can't run the football against them. It's just a slog to play this Eagles team. But when it's all said and done, the Eagles just win games. They win games. It doesn't have to look ugly. It doesn't look like they're at their best. They just win football games, man. Now, if you get into a situation like you did against the Jets, you can beat this team. This team is very beatable, it feels like. But nobody besides the Jets have been able to do it. So I got to roll with the Eagles here at number one. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Are you worried about the 49ers if you're Niners fans? How about the Bengals? They're coming on hot. Should they be higher? Maybe they're ready to challenge Baltimore for that division lead spot. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up. Really helps the channel out a lot. We got to beat these YouTube algorithm overlords. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We got new content every single day. And if you want to support the channel more, click that join button. Join the channel memberships. You get access to lots of cool perks, early content, exclusive content, emojis, badges, fun stuff to use during our live streams throughout the year. It's been a lot of fun. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.